Okay. Good evening once again. Good evening, everybody. Welcome to tonight's live call. Welcome to this session of the um L1L5 coaching call. Like we started this journey about 3 weeks ago, and we've started speaking about different dimensions of change making in leadership, and tonight will not be an exception. And we also have our guests here with us. So I would be sharing my screen very soon so I can introduce our guest for tonight, and we dive right into the discussion. So it's just going to be a discussion, right? It's going to be a discussion that um we just speak on, and everyone would later come on to ask any questions they have, or share their comments or reviews or what they learn basically for this discussion. And tonight we have Victor Ikechukwu with us. I'm going to be sharing my screen so we can um, see his profile as I read. I'm not going to read everything. So just give me a moment, please. My laptop is is doing the most. So as I share my screen, I'd just like to hear how was your day? How was your day? Okay, I can see. Oh, wow, I can see you all. It's good to have you here. Shalom, how are you? How was your day? How did it go at your end?
My day was fine, thank
Okay,
you. Yeah, my day was okay, thank
okay,
you.
good to
How was
hear.
yours? Thank you.
Very well, thank you. Simi, how was your day? Abi, how is your day going?
My day is going good. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. So we have Goodness joining us. You're welcome, Goodness. Kindly confirm if you can hear us, if you can see us, if you don't have
I can
network
hear
glitch.
you.
Oh, good. Hear from you. While I've actually heard your voice. So it's good to hear from you this evening. You are welcome. How was your day? How did your day
Thank you.
go?
My day was fine. I s- I spent it
All right.
on the bed.
You were enjoying yourself.
Yes.
That's good. Okay.
Thank you.
So this is another addition to your day. Welcome, Anu. I see you too. How are you and how did your day
Good
go?
evening, Ma. Good evening, everyone. I'm very well, thank you. I hope
Good
you are good
evening.
too. My day was okay. Thank God.
Yes. Oh, amazing. Good to hear.
Thank you.
Good to hear.
Thank you, Ma.
So before we ask our guest how his day went, please let's all welcome him. Let's all welcome him in unison and say welcome, Mr. Victor. We're glad to have you here. Did anyone hear me?
I'm
Welcome,
taking a
Mr.
virtual
Victor.
bow.
Welcome, sir.
Accept
We're
my
glad to
virtual
have you.
bow.
I'm glad to have you here, sir.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
We're glad to have you.
Accept my virtual bow. Thank you.
We accept. How did your day go? How was your day too?
My day went well, thankfully. I had to round up the day earlier so I could prepare towards this event. So my day went well. So,
Amazing.
yeah,
Thank you for joining
thank you.
us for
Thank you for
today's
having me.
session.
It's a pleasure.
Okay. Yeah. So, Mr. Victor Ikechukwu is not a guest to us, and it's not a guest to Lead Up Initiative because, in fact, I was saying I was going to tell the story of how the name Lead Up came, and I don't know how he and Bolaji came up with it, but that time we were all thinking that how do we transition? How do we come up with this leadership goal? And it was in the process of brainstorming that Mr. Victor and Bolaji, I don't know if Bolaji is still going to join us on any call, but they both came up with the name Lead Up, and it's been a pleasure working with him all the way, and also seeing the amazing things he's doing currently. I'm always mind blown, and I'm grateful to God for him and for the significant progress. And so tonight we're just going to have him share and discuss with us on change making. And just to confirm, if you can see my screen now, this was all making me stall actually. Can you see my screen? Someone should just say yes, I can see it. Hey, this is surprising.
Yes, ma'am. I
Can anyone
can
hear me?
see it from my end.
Yes, we can.
Okay, thank you. Oh, because I'm not on Google Meet, right? I'm on the screen being shared, so I can't see our reactions. So that was why I said kindly confirm by saying yes. Okay, so tonight's meeting is the life coaching call for L1L5, and L1L5 stands for Lead One Lead Five. It's a leadership project currently going on under the Lead Up initiative, and this is like the training class. So we're leading one leader to go on to lead 5 other leaders. And tonight we're discussing on shaping the future, becoming a change maker. So we've been dealing with the theme change maker from the Summer Leadership Summit in September till now, and um the current students in this cohort of this training are the ones undergoing like the deep dive, right? And so tonight we're also discussing on that. And I'm not sure, has anyone seen the resources for this week? Just say yes. Have you watched the video? Have you read the article? Anyone? Okay, while I expect my response. um yeah, so we're going to be having Mr. Ikechukwu Victor discuss with us tonight on this theme, shaping the future, becoming a change maker. So I think I'll just read the first 2 paragraphs of his bio, because this bio is long. Thank God for him. So Ikechukwu Victor is a believer who is specifically passionate about excellence, education, leadership, and agriculture. The latter being as a result of his majoring in agricultural economics while as a student at the University of Ibadan. Is a content creator who creates, co-creates, establishes and implements ideas, curriculum, programs, modules, memorandums, and products through spirit-driven personal or group think tank sessions. He has he has, by the help of God, created curriculums, e-products, and blueprints utilized by schools and edu-centered initiatives in Lagos State. He currently is the creative director of Liuvic Solutions. Sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. An expression targeted towards addressing challenges related to SDGs 2, 4, 7, 8, and 12. He currently is an EdTech trainer and consultant for schools in Nigeria, providing solutions to EdTech integration and optimization within school operations. Um, so we have quite a number of things to read and let you know about. But one thing I can ascertain is that he's a leader in his own space and is causing change even from his own space. I'm trying to remember I remember the last session we had, we spoke about this quote from Tude Onokoya, and that quote I can see it resonates with um Mr. Victor very well. Like doing small things from a great place. I'm doing great things from a small place. Yes. I might not have quoted this verbatimly, but that was it. And I can reassure you that yes, he's doing that. And we're grateful to have him here tonight discussing the topic shaping the future, becoming a change maker. Mr. Victor, welcome. You have the floor. Let's have this discussion and just delve into this session and this topic. And if you have any questions, anything to ask at the end of this conversation, please feel free. Feel free and let's discuss. It's basically a deep dive coaching call and discussion. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me once again. Uh, it's a pleasure to be here. I am particularly excited to see Simi on this call. It's good to see you again, Simi. Trust you're well. I yes, good evening. Okay. Thank you. I expressly gave you the permission to trim the bio because even me, I could not trim it, so it's fine. All right. Thank you so much once again for coming, for having me here. And I've been, I'm, I don't know how to place it, but I would say I'm in spirit with Lead Up Initiative. We are still here. It's just that they like calling me like as a guest speaker, but fine. And I always, uh, I'm always abreast of what you have on Instagram, spotlighting change makers, and I always interact with all of those content, spotlighting change makers. Even change makers I've never heard of before. I get to learn a lot about them and see what they are currently doing and how we can also learn from their stories and what they do in the society or in their various spaces. So like we've always had the topic, it becoming a change maker and how we as individuals get to evolve or grow into that position or into that expression of being a change maker. Let me retract position. I'll just prefer to use expression of being a change maker. Yes, because if I should start from the story of like how she was trying to begin with, Build Up Initiative started from just a simple, well, like I just a brainstorming. I remember back then at Cedar Hall cafeteria, we were sitting on that long bench close to the podium or to the stage, and we kept racking our brains for like close to 30, 40 minutes. And I believe that one of the things that spurred or created or caused us to have that thought line of calling it Lead Up Initiative is because of the vision we had or that Dr. B communicated to us. It is not just about coming up with words. It's not just about being creative with terms and there's another one we call it terms and phenomenon. It's about understanding what the vision is so that you can actually properly give it a name that resonates with what has been shared with you. And that is one thing I believe because even as change makers, when you understand what your expression is about, it helps you to figure out what name you give to it because names are powerful actually. Names are powerful. like what I have going on, Levoy solution is just it's something that came out of the same thinking, the same reflection on what I want to do. And if I should shed more light on it, Levoy is actually from the first three letters are from what I am very passionate about. L is for leadership, E is for education, A is for agriculture. I don't think I've said this anywhere in any public space. So this should be the first time I'm saying it. So L is for leadership, E is for education, A is for agriculture. Then Voy is the initials of my three names, Victor, Ikechukwu, Ikechukwu. So I brought them together and called it Levoy. And that was I came up with that name during the COVID period when I just that was it. That was the point where I think like for many people just like me, I had to sit down and think and do a lot of things that would resonate with what the future holds for me. All right, so like I was saying, it comes back or it boils down back to what we have here in Lead Up Initiative. We are not just about it goes beyond just leadership. It goes beyond just I think on Monday or Tuesday I was listening to Reverend Sam Adeyemi, and he said that many people are still yet to understand what the true concept of leadership is, and how that they forget that leadership is about making the change, influencing the change, spearheading a change that causes the change that causes for a societal transformation. Because the change first begins with you as a leader. That's even the reason you came out to do what you do. So once you encounter that change, he was sharing his story. He shared how that he was very introverted, and it was someone. I think I can't remember. I think a man gave him a book. I can't remember the name of the book now, and that book changed his life and his perception about leadership. So it, he began to undergo a schooling on what leadership is, and I think he said the first thing he saw it as was changing yourself to change the world, or transforming yourself to transform the world. So once you've undergone that metamorphosis within you, then you are in the right position or you're in the right expression to create the metamorphosis that your society needs. And metamorphosis, when you talk about it in metamorphosis, I don't understand. Okay, spotlight myself. Okay, let me pin myself. Okay, all right. I think this is better, right? Okay. So when you look at metamorphosis in the scientific method, it talks about there is always the change from an egg to the blooming butterfly that we have. All I'm even saying, I didn't plan to say these things. I have jotted what I wanted to say, but let me just move in that sort of line of thought. So it begins from the egg, right? And then there's a metamorphosis that happens with till that particular insect or egg becomes the adult or the butterfly or the insect or whatever it is. And so you see that it begins from um, the egg where it is encapsulated. It has uh, it's caged. No, I won't say caged, but temporarily shelled in. So you would not know the potential of that egg, just like how we do not know the potential of a seed until it has been placed in the right, until it has been given time and placed in the right environment, right? And so later on, you see that it becomes the larva, or what you call the caterpillar, and then it begins to take in. That is the phase where it begins to eat. It begins to have this very, very huge amount of what we call appetite. And when we liken that to a leader, that phase of lava, that lava phase is the point where you begin to take in a lot of things that would provide for your transformation. It's just like taking in nutrients that though even if they're even and within that few weeks of taking down nutrients, they might almost look the same, but there's a restructuring within their system, and you would not see the restructuring if you are not patient enough to watch them. And that's why the Bible says that the world waits patiently for the manifestation of the sons of God. They are waiting. So it's their duty to wait. And the duty of the sons of men to manifest. So before the manifestation of that egg or that larva into what it should be, there has to be a process of time. And within that process of time, you cannot just keep on whiling away time or doing things that are unproductive. That is where you eat, you take in, you take in nutrients, you take in resources, you take in everything that will provide for a stellar growth, for an the word is uninterrupted phase of growth. And so, as you take in so much that provides for your growth, though you might not see it, you might not see yourself growing, you might not see yourself, but there's a change occurring within you, and that change builds up and it's stored. And just like how we have it in science, we call that storage of change or storage of energy. We call it potential energy. That's what we call your potential. So your potentials are all of what you've built, ready to burst out, ready to push out and let the world see. And so then we now have what we call the chrysalis. The chrysalis is particularly for the butterfly. The chrysalis is a phase where there is a temporal, a temporal solemnity, if I should use that word, a temporal pause, a temporal pause. That pause, I like to liken that pause as a point, as I like to liken that pause as the 40 days. Yes, now, is it not 40 days? How many days you just spend in the wilderness? I like to liken it as the 40 days, if I'm right. Just, am I right? How many days did you just spend in the wilderness? 40 days now, of fasting, right?
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Yes,
Good,
yes,
good. And you will note that that was a fasting period, right? Where
Yes.
you ate nothing. So in the chrysalis, nothing is eaten. You are not eating anything. You are just within a temporal shell, and you are what I want to call waiting for the manifestation as it is. And so when people see your lava state, seeing that you read, seeing that you studied, seeing that you attended webinars, seeing that you partook in so many change, change, what's the word I'm trying to look for a compound word, change provoking activity or change provoking practice. And then they now see the chrysalis, they begin to wonder that what's happening. This does not sound the way it should supposed to, like it should not look this way. But then there's still time again, there's still a need for time to come for the outbreak from that chrysalis. And that outbreak occurs when there is a full formation. If if the butterfly is not fully formed and the chrysalis is broken, we get a deformed insect. Either externally, which is always mostly the point, which is always mostly the issue or mostly the case, there can be an external effect. And I can always liken this external effect to what people see going on around them. People might, as a change maker, you may need to understand that what happens out there might not be what should happen with you. So if those external effects begins to break your chrysalis, preventing you from being fully formed, then there could be a malformation or malfunction. There will always be a malformation. There will always be a malfunction in that. So one, because in science again, there's what we call form fitting function, where the form of something call, fits the function. So the reason why, for example, the reason why I want to use a very simple analogy in science. The reason why the reason why, okay, let's say the reason why the skull is the size it is because it should fit the brain, right? So the skull cannot be triangular if the skull is going to be hemispherical, right? So if the form of the butterfly is not functional, if it's not able to, if the formation is not yet full, the functionality would not be full. So a full formation provides for a full functionality, right? That's why certain things don't happen in the human body because that organ is not fully functioned. Once the organ is fully functioned, then we should expect full functionality. And let me reiterate that if they are external, because it's very hard because it's like an hibernation phase, an hibernation phase for this butterfly in the chrysalis. The chrysalis, he can hardly make any impact from within it. The only time he's able to break out from within is if he is fully functioned. So the only time a change maker is able to break out from within is when he has been fully formed. Well, and that is why the chrysalis is located in usually under a leaf, a very secluded place. Do you understand? Which takes me back again to why Jesus Christ had to go to the wilderness to, to be fully formed before he emerged. Do you understand? I'm not doing revival. I'm just using all of these scenarios to push the the idea. So the reason why it goes to a secluded place is just so that there will be no chance of external impact. Do you understand? There will be no chance of maybe an animal stepping on it or wind blowing it off or something. So that is why, sometimes, most times, and always, I won't say always, mostly advisable is that at that phase of a man's life, it's important that he just seclude himself and then just go through that process and get fully formed before he emerges. And then later on, we now get to see the part where the child, where the metamorphosis is now complete. You understand? And then we now see the outcoming of a very a very beautifully winged butterfly, and able to flap, able to move, able to do all of its biological process um, uh, that it's supposed to do. And that's where the breakout comes in. That's where the breakout comes in. And so the breakout comes in then, and then we see that it's able to perform. And so you see to the admiration of everyone. The reason why people would admire the bright colors of a butterfly is because such butterfly had taken the time to go through the process. The reason why people would admire what you do is because you went through the right process. And I would like to mention that these processes are not just, are not just based on the usual cognitive process of a man. No matter how brilliant a man is, he or she might not just be able to. The word is you might not there is a limit to the cognitive. Well, not well. I mean, when I mean cognitive, I mean the thinking. I mean the thinking of a man. I know books can help to expand the thinking of a man, but then there's also the aspect where the spirit comes in, and there there's a collaboration to build for these things. Now, I want to now switch this over to what change making in change being becoming change makers and making the right impact involved, because when I was going through the material that was sent, and I watched the YouTube video about uh, uh, Wangari Maathai. Yes,
Sorry.
that's the professor, Professor Wangari Maathai, and I looked at all that she had done, and all of those things. You see, I reading that, watching that video. I also watched other videos about her because I wanted to get a full concept of what she did and how she went through what she went, how she achieved what she did, and because I juxtaposed the 8 steps of the Kotter's 8 steps of the Kotter's 8 step change model to what Otari Mangai did, and I also juxtaposed it with compared it with what lead up initiative actually, where we started from, because when you look at the story of Otari Mangai, Abi Mangai Matai, sorry, I'm switching the name. When we look at what she did, it started from what the first process we see in the quotas process as creating a sense of urgency. As a change maker, after you have evolved, because this step now starts from after the complete metamorphosis. Now you've emerged and you're trying to, because that is what we just discussed now about the metamorphosis is what I call the change within. Now we are trying to create the change without. And so the change without starts from having a good sense of urgency. Sorry, like how it is stipulated in that principle understanding the sense of urgency. You're creating a sense of urgency, and that sense of urgency stems from your understanding of what is prevalent at that moment, right? Please just let me know how many minutes I have so that I know I can crunch it. So, uh, starts from what was I saying? I said so. It starts from creating a sense of urgency, because I actually even compared it with what we have in the SDGs, because I I I am an advocate for the SDGs, especially SDG 4, and so when I went through the training of the SDG, I what exactly we have in these steps, in these eight steps or eight processes, eight step change model by Kotta, is exactly what we applied in the SDGs. How that you have to first of all create a sense of urgency. After you've created a sense of urgency regarding that particular thing you want to change, there's a need to also build what we call a guiding coalition. Building a guiding coalition that talks about getting people together. If I should take a step back and refer that to Lead Up, that was where Dr. B shared with us what her vision was for Lead Up Initiative. How that she was looking at, and one thing she kept mentioning was leading yourself, leading yourself, leading yourself, and how if you can't lead yourself, you won't be able to lead externally or lead other people. So she shared that she understood the sense of urgency. She built a coalition. Back then it was just us. We built a guiding coalition. That was me, Balaji, and herself. I think there were other people too now, if I'm not wrong. I think we had an extended team too. That was, I remember, I think Anu was there, or if I'm not wrong, um, what was the name of this lady? But let me just, I think so. But just know if I'm right. Okay. So we had those ones. So that was the next step was for to build a guiding coalition. So that guiding coalition is like a coming together of people who would, spearhead such visions that has been shared. And then when I was reading the Cotter's steps to change, I thought that there was an error, because I thought when I saw level 3 and level 3 was saying form a strategic vision and initiative. I'm like, have we not gotten the vision already? Was that not what happened when we formed the coalition? How did you form a coalition without a vision? And I had a rethink, and I said, okay, yes, sometimes the initial vision of the founder or the initiator might be in his raw form. Do you understand? But then when he pulls people together and he begins to discuss, there is now a better and brighter vision. Do you understand? So they say something, and then we now see that something is being formed that is even better than what it is. That's why the Bible says that two heads are better than one. If it is better for a person to be, it's better for you to have a partner than than just to stand alone. And so that's where the other heads come in. And if if okay, let me just skip that. If the initial visioner comes with the vision and shares it with these people, and then they come together and think and now begin to see in broader bandwidth, that's why I like think tanks, because you're not just coming with your own vision. You have an expansion of bandwidth. There is a mental bandwidth that that there's a stretch in your mental bandwidth. You can think with, you are picking. I think that's where the phrase comes from, picking on people's brains. And when you pick on their brain, you come up with something better. So creating a sense of urgency, building a coalition, then that part of forming a strategic vision is very important, because that is what sets the tone for what would happen in the next few years or few moments, that uh that such things will be lasting. Do you understand? If the vision is not properly formed, then there's a tendency for, if setting, if it's not even fully formed, it's beyond fully formed. If it's fully formed, if it's not fully formed, if it's not fully communicated and articulated, you might not have, you might not be able to, the vision won't be very long lasting, no matter how powerful that vision may be, and it is not properly strategized, it is not properly communicated, to the leaders, and I mean constant communication of it, right? Letting it be known, or making it be known to people, to the stakeholders. Along the line, you begin to see trickles of maybe reduced interest or something. And so that brings us to why I have number four, because communicating the vision is very important. And you see, in the little years I've spent in leadership, I have experienced the power of communication. The communication is so powerful, like the way you communicate, how you communicate, when you communicate, how often you communicate is very powerful. And that's why when you see organizations that always reiterate their core values, their vision and their mission, letting it sink within the heart, saying it, that's where the word of God, that's where Joshua 1 verse 8 that says, this word shall not depart out of their mouth, but you shall meditate on it day and night. That is an expression of that. If the vision and the mission is able to resound on the lips and is impressed fully on the hearts of those that are partakers of it, then you will see that that vision tends to would not even tends would last longer than when it is just once in a while spoken, or you just mention it in at the annual meeting or at a monthly meeting, or but when people are always reminded, and I don't mean it in a very grudging way, I mean it in a very like integrating way to integrate people and remind and provide for a good sense of understanding. Because every time you say it, there might be a new light that comes to that vision, and people just see or begin to think out new ways to or better ways to actually cause that vision to be or to be a manifestation of what it's supposed to be. And then we now talk about removing the obstacles. What are the obstacles that are involved in achieving that change or providing for that change? What are the obstacles that prevents moving forward with that particular change? What exactly is hindering you? You understand? It could be maybe inefficient processes. It could be maybe a form of resistance, because that's one thing that happens with change. And in my line of in my field of or in my line, then we have what we call curriculum implementation, curriculum innovation, and curriculum change. How about sometimes you want to change an existing curriculum, and then we have people, stakeholders against such change, because naturally people are the word is, should I say should I say I don't want to use that word. The word I wanted to use was allergic to change. Like people who don't like change. So they prefer to be in a very, very comfortable situation. You get very comfortable. They don't want to move. They don't want to change anything. They just want to stay as they are. And if they don't, and that's why that sense of urgency is very important actually, because you still need to communicate that sense of urgency to those who are trying to just abide with the status quo. You understand? Every person that is a stakeholder, every stakeholder, important stakeholder in the movement for change or in that impact for change needs to understand the urgency for it. For example, now let me just go back to the SDG. When we say that by 2030, the world would be how many times hotter than it is now, and they begin to talk about the likely things that are to happen by that year or by that time, and what will happen. They show you pictures of Lake Chad, how Lake Chad was a few years ago and how it is now, and how that we're having depleting water bodies, we're having a more desert encroachment, we're having depleting forest bodies, and increased level of deforestation and all of those things. And the impact, it's not enough to tell people about the bad things. It's also about telling them how it impacts them. Because if you just tell them about the bad things, they might be like, it doesn't concern me. But when you now tell them how it concerns them, then they'll be more moved, or they'll be more pushed to accept the change. So most times, properly communicating the urgency of that form of urgency would go a long way to catalyze the change. First of all, with the people you're working with your initiative, and then to the broader, to the broader communities where that change or impact will be felt. And removing when I come back again to removing obstacles, there are certain key actions that you can actually take to removing key action. When you identify the processes or people that would block the change, when you're able to identify those people, and and then you now create a strategy of either educating those people, because sometimes the reason why people resist change is due to ignorance. So they don't know what it is. That's why that urgency comes in again, letting them know what is going to happen and how it affects them. And so when you identify those resistances, if that I think is resistances, then you can now begin to educate those people. You educate them, let them know what it is and what is not. You understand? So then you now begin to remove and modify barriers. There are certain barriers that might occur, maybe changing the structures, maybe providing training, like I said, education, and then maybe reassigning certain duties. Now, when you talk about running trainings or educating people, it has to be done in a way that you begin to see the impact of that change or that training or that education, because the essence of education is to cause a change in behavior. And so if we don't see, if after a few series of training or education as a change maker, you are not seeing the changes you're expecting, then it means that something is wrong. You might need to go back to the drawing board and re-strategize on what to do. And then you could also, let people understand the importance of what they do. Let them understand the importance of what they do and the consistency of doing what they are doing. Once you've communicated or educated them on what the need things to be done, let them understand it, right? And consistently practice what has been done. Do you understand? That's on that level of removing obstacles, because it's very important. If obstacles are not removed, that's why if obstacles are not removed as a change maker, then efforts would be minimal. The resulting efforts will be minimal. You understand? Then after removing obstacle, the quarters the next process in the quarters each step is to now what? So, generate short-term wins. Generating short-term wins. That is, creating those little things, because those short-term wins or those little wins are things that encourage, people to push, that they push for more. It's just like when you make an investment and you see a little return. Do you understand? It's when you see a little return, it encourages you to do more, because that change is long term. When you are advancing in a long term endeavor, there has to be short term wins in between. If you wait for this is not where delayed gratification comes in, because before that delayed gratification is where we will have discouragement. So in between, let's have short-term wins that will now propel people to now still strive for that uh, long-term goal. So with those little things, people are not grudgy. They are not. You see, that's why the story of the the story of the wilderness was why it is. They were trying to get to Canaan land, but then on their way to Canaan land, there was all these complaints and everything. Those complaints were what, if there was if things that don't happen in between, maybe God providing manna, maybe God sending the quails, maybe bring providing water for them from the rock, all of those things might have just totally, because they still wanted to go back. That's exactly what I'm saying. They would always want to go back to that comfortable situation. No matter how bad the situation is, the people would always want to go back to it. But if you have created a sense of urgency like Moses did, right? And he said, okay, we need to leave this because we need to go and serve God, all of those things. And and you create a coalition like he did with Aaron. He created a coalition with Aaron and I think maybe Miriam, and they now pushed. They communicated the vision with the rest of the elders of the Israelites, and so all of those things were stepwise. And so you get to the wilderness, and then it's still a long-term vision. People will get tired. People will naturally get tired, especially those ones that have still not fully imbibed or accepted the need for that change. Do you understand? So we go back. Then the next one is sustain acceleration. There's another way it is being put. I'm trying to remember. If I remember, I would let us know. There's another way I read. There's another way that particular one was termed. Let me see if I have it. I think I let me see. Yes, it says sustain change as a continuous process. Sustaining change as a continuous process. And so what this means is that after those initial wins, after all of the wins that have occurred, my okay. Uh, so just give me a minute.
All right, no problem. I think um it's an electricity issue, right? But there's been a lot being shared. Um, do I have a witness? Do I have
Yes,
anyone that can?
ma'am.
Yeah. If you're
Yeah.
actually like listening and thinking through, you know that this is deep. I had to go and carry my notes. Like I cannot just be typing. Yeah. So will just one person share something that has like that really struck you from the discussion so far? I'd just like to hear from one person as before Mr. Victor takes on uh continues. So one person, one
Okay,
leader. Okay, yeah, go on.
okay. For me, I think one major thing I have written now is the communication aspect because
Mm,
most most organizations, partnerships, collaborations, they start with a vision and then do you know they don't like communicate and let it ring, maybe like you said, maybe once in a year or maybe during the end of the year party they'll
mhm,
remind themselves of the vision and mission. But there is something about consistently communicating the vision, the values, the goals, all of these things. This is one major thing I've taken note of tonight. I
profound.
don't think, yeah, it's very, very profound. It's not something that I've really taken note of before. So, yeah, that's
Yes,
one thing I've
very, very
written.
important. Yeah, very important. I'd also quickly just share my own, and I would have shared on communication initially, but let me move to another point so that I can reiterate it. So, it's the aspect of creating a sense of urgency, and it brought me to the place of thinking: why is the SDG targeted at 2030? That's a sense of urgency, even though it looks far, but there's a time frame to it, right? And that's what makes it a goal. That's what makes it something that must be achieved. So that really spoke to me. It spoke to me, creating a sense of urgency as a leader. That's one way to drive change. When everyone knows where we are going, it is communicated to them. We know that in the next 10 years, this must be achieved, right? And that really spoke to me. I like to hear from others after the session. So, Mr. Victor, are you back?
Yes, I am.
Okay.
Okay, so sorry. My gel was repaired this night, so we lost a lot of fuel in that process. So when I put it on, in the middle of the meeting, it went off.
Oh,
So
sorry
my
about
system
that.
is dead. Yes, so my system is dead, and then I'll just have to use my phone to
Okay, it's
communicate.
fine, no
All
problem.
right, and I'm almost done. Yeah, so I'm almost done actually. So yeah, so we talked about I think the last thing I made mention of was
You're talking about
sustaining acceleration.
yeah.
Yeah, sustaining acceleration or sustaining change. And what this talks about, like I said, is that after all of those wins, after you've seen those wins, um, the one thing a change maker or an organization, even in the large sense of it, might do is that they might think that that is the final victory. You understand? They might think that that is the end, that is the end goal. But if you really understood your vision, you would know that those little wins are a tiny fraction of what exactly is supposed to be achieved.
Mm,
You understand? If you truly, because that's why goals have to be measurable. Goals have to be measurable because the essence of having measurable goals towards it towards imparting change is so that if you don't see it in that level, you know you're not done. If you are trying to reach out to 1 million people and you've reached out to 10,000, yes, that's a small win, but it's not the final thing. Until you have achieved your 10 million, you cannot say you have done it. You cannot say you have fulfilled the vision or you have, carried out the mandate. So
mm,
that's one thing they tend to do. And it's not sometimes it's not always there could be so many factors. Sometimes in the long run there could be financial issues. In the long run there could be partnership breakups. Uh, in the long run there could be people. Maybe I've seen that one a lot of times. People will just see their and you see that's why it's very important that you know who you are riding with, especially the inner circle, the core team. If if anybody outside of the core team goes off, it's almost fine. I honestly, it's almost fine. But if your core team is not in the loop anymore, that means something is wrong. And one thing about communicating again is that you need to communicate it more to the core team who are like the appendages. They're like an appendage. You get what I mean, like an extension of you in a way that you as the maybe the chain maker. If you have a core team, it's important that they know. It's important that you have those sessions of thinking, brainstorming, drafting out in the spiritual sense, in the spiritual aspect, praying, maybe confessing, saying a lot of things, speaking to those things, so that because if you're able to do that, that's why if you're able to do that, then that bond will become stronger. You'll be more together. You'll be more likely to stay together to achieve than to break out. So it could come from a lot of factors, like I've mentioned. It could be financial issues, it could be personnel issues, it could be partnership issues, it could be just maybe you found a new dream or you found a new something, and it's not. I don't know how to judge that case, but then it's less. I don't honestly. I don't know how to judge that case. I don't know what to say about that. When you find a new dream and you're trying to abandon the ship, it's almost as though if so. I just want to leave it aside and maybe let's move on for the sake of time. This is almost 9. It's already 9. So and the last one we now have I think it's called institute change. Institute change is like the final change to ensure that the change is permanent. The change is exactly it's fully functional. That's like the last phase in that metamorphosis you're discussing. That's like the last phase where you see it running, it's up and running. It has hit the ground and it's already fully functional. Nothing, no single person would now be strong enough. In before this point, there are there still lies the potential of that change to be aborted. Do you
mm,
understand? Especially from the beginning, as you increase down the steps, the potential of aborting the change is reduced. You understand? So, but that's why we say, yeah, especially at the point of celebrating small wins. Those small wins are uh, is even the most. I think that's even the most frequent places where the change, the main driven vision for that change is aborted. So, but if a person or if a change maker or a leader has been able to scale through that path and has not been blinded or deceived by that little win, he should be able to make progress with getting to the point of instituting the change. And that's where you can now say, that's where the person can now achieve, you can rest and see the system work for itself. You
mm,
understand? You see the system, you see all that has been put into it, you see the effort working for itself. And you don't just see the system working, you see a replication of that system.
Mm-hmm.
especially if that system is a functional work. You will see
Uh,
replication of that system with people in that system. They will begin to there will be an expansion or be a recreation of that system because they've seen that it works and because they've seen that it has the potential for longevity. That change has the potential for longevity, or the impact of the change has the features of longevity. So that those are just the three steps, and I think I've related it to a lot of things. I've related it to the SDGs. I've related it to even what we have here in Lead Up. I've related it to what she did, what uh I
one
always
guy.
forget her name. What Wangari Maathai did, what she did with those women who were her coalition, what she
Mm,
did with them, despite the whole thing, all of those things were, planting trees from 1977 and 27 years later, you see that you've achieved 30 million trees. Even if, sometimes, even if even if you've attained the measurable, like what we call deliverables in KPIs. If you even if you've attained deliverables, you've gotten to that point. Nothing still prevents you, except you want to do something else. Nothing still prevents you as a change maker from, surpassing it. And when you surpass those things, it is even a surer proof of the infallibility of one, your system, two, your processes, and three, your coalition, your system, your processes, the team you've built is sure proof that yes, if you are able to, because 10,000 might be a chance, might be out of chance as a result of maybe just chance or luck. But when you
mm,
hit solid value or a solid figure, people see it and they say yes, truly your methods, your systems, the processes you've integrated, the people you brought on board, these are the people that actually provided for this huge, massive result you got. And so I think that is where I will bring it to a close on my part. Uh, I believe we've learned one or two things from what we shared. Thank you
mm.
so much.
Thank you, thank you, thank you so so much. That was profound. Uh so much, so much was said, so much also was ignited in our hearts. Thank you so much. I think I would like to. It's just what I like to do to hear from others too, because that solidifies the learning. What has been learned so far? So I like to hear from others. And before I start calling, I'll just like someone to speak up because we're all leaders here, right? So let's speak. Um, Anything stood out for you? Anything significant? What struck you from this session? Anyone? Okay, let's have a Lalikun share what stood out for him.
All right. Good evening, everyone. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Ikechukwu, for that wonderful session. That was a whole lot, and I must admit that yeah, tonight I learned so much. Well, and things you've actually said just made me remember what I things I was able to pick up while I was reading this book by John C. Maxwell, and developing the leadership in you. Yeah.
Mm,
So there was one section where he made mention about change, why people resist change. Yeah. And just like what you were saying, and I can actually resonate with those things. And it was just as if I was just being pinned that, do you remember this part? Do you remember this part in that book? Do you remember this
mm,
part? I just have to, maybe by the time I get to, I'll just have to go and check it again. But honestly, I learned a lot. And one thing I just remember just from what you said is one of the reasons why people resist change is if the change is not self-initiated. So for you as a leader, you need to create that environment where you let everybody know that maybe you have a vision or you have an idea and you want that idea to change some certain things around you. You don't just make it known to everyone that okay, this is coming from my own self, but let them know this. You let them know that this is what everyone is expected of. Like you try to carry them along that okay, this thing belongs to everybody. So you don't
Mm,
just serve as okay, this is just for me, but just try to share that vision and let everybody carry it because it is their own power, their own willingness that will actually drive your own vision further.
mm.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Ikechukwu.
Thank you so much. You dropped another punchline. You said when it's their willingness, it's the willingness of everyone, right? When the vision is probably properly communicated and when everyone owns the vision. So their willingness to carry the vision further. And that's very important for all of us on this call. That's very important for everyone in this cohort of lead one, lead five, because we know that we're all going on to lead our own projects, lead our own ideas, initiatives, whatever it is that has come to mind. Then how do we allow the people that are coming to be volunteers or to just be a part of the vision? How do we allow them own the vision? It is very, very important that we'll make sure that everyone is open. You might have the idea initially, but it doesn't mean that it completely lies on you to have it, initiate it, direct everyone, make sure that everything goes the way you're thinking. That's autocracy. So thank you for that, Olalikon. Okay, Mr. Victor, I think you can speak before we hear another person.
Sorry, I forgot to mention something. Thank you. I
Okay.
forgot to mention something because if it's just 2 minutes, something again. Okay, so there are at least two ways that discouragement when it comes to impacting change can be in at least. I know that there's at least there are many, but I want to mention just two. Now there could be discouragement because when I was watching that the video of the professor Mangaya Watai or what
Yeah,
please you pardon me. Yes,
no
there was
problem.
a point that it says that some people started laughing at her when she
Mm-hmm.
started doing the trees, all of those things. Good. There could be external mockery, of what you are doing. And one thing I tell people is that if people are laughing at what you are doing, especially when things are well thought out by you, it's basically because they are maybe let's say short-sighted about what people that either they're short-sighted or they are just trying to cover up for their jealousy of what you are trying to achieve, or maybe they just feel that they just want to bring they just if it, at least if it cannot happen with them, it should not happen with you. They're just looking for a
Mm,
way, and I'm not looking at this in any form of deeper enmity. There's not, yeah, but then aside that, there could also be the point, discouragement, whereby what you expect to happen or the kind of attention or recognition you expect to get from. See, when you go in as a change maker, don't bother about recognition. It should not be your priority. Your priority should not be about being recognized by the United Nations or by the world. No, your priority should be the vision you want. Those ones will come naturally to you, especially if your vision is making, and it might not be global recognition. It might just be local, and with you, that can be fine. It depends on you. So if change makers may tend to be discouraged about those two things, the mockery, the external mockery, and then the internal maybe thoughts that you are not, your recognition or you not being recognized is not good. I'm actually, it came to me and I feel one of us or someone here might encounter or might have encountered or might be encountering that. Just give it time, and within that time, just like I said, nobody knows the butterfly when it was a larva or in the chrysalis.
mm,
That at the point was what happened. So in that same point, just keep building, just keep doing what you are doing, keep encouraging your cutting, keep you know encouraging them. Encouraging them is a deep it's beyond just don't worry. We encourage them, and because change, like I said, is very it's people, even your body resists change. Once you introduce something, those white cells are busy antigen now, they begin to attack it, or any foreign body that comes into the human body, they want to resist it. So it's the same way your human body is programmed, that so it's on different levels.
Mm,
Yeah, thank you.
thank you so much for that. That's true. Very true. Discouragement can always come. In fact, if you are on the journey of becoming a change maker and you have not encountered discouragement, I think you should need to look back and think that are you really on this journey? And it's not because you must face discouragement. It's just normal, because it's not until you start inviting discouragements that you feel like, yes, I'm on that journey. It's just normal, because different things, even the system, is enough to discourage you, but you have to keep pushing, and that's when you thrive. All right, so I'd like to hear one more comment before we wrap up tonight's session. We'll be done in 3 minutes, and I'll just like someone to give a brief comment. Who would go? Who would go? Goodness, can we hear from you? Okay, is Goodness still with us? Anu, would you like to speak as we wrap up?
Okay, so I think apart from like this session has been power packed, but one thing I would also like to say that I got that was very, very tangible for me is that, you know, everything is not just an idea, a vision that was just in the head. The
Mm,
person moved forward to like either writing down or speaking to people, collaborating with people. I think the boldness, there has to be that boldness to just speak it out. And then when Mr. Victor was giving his introduction, it was saying something about the fact that you sat for about 40 minutes, 20 minutes brainstorming about the name of the initiative and all. Like there is something that happens when you just speak out your mind and then people collaborate with you to
mm,
bring it to life. I'm not sure that, well, there would have been that picture that, oh, lead up will be somewhere big in the future, but I'm sure that that day you might not have seen that, oh, we'll be doing what we are doing today, but
mm,
because you were able to speak it out and then people could understand, you were able to get like minds. So I feel like that was like an encouraging thing for me to maybe speak out, not just envision and then keep it to myself or let it stay in my journal. Let it
mm.
get out, let it, come to life. So
Wow.
that's one other thing I was able to learn.
Wow, that's a profound perspective. Like, it's profound, and it's not even just because of the example you use, but because it's just the truth. We see people like we have a we have examples of, yes, yes, yes. Scripture says that you shall have what you say. Very true. We have examples of the giants currently. You hear that they were probably discussing with their roommates. I think I was listening to the story of Bill Gates very recently, and how he and his roommates started Microsoft at the time, because he discussed it with him. I was like, what if we have a computer in our library and this and that and this, and they just sat together and begged his dad to allow them use their garage and start coupling things together. If you also read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, the guy was asking how can he make wealth, and that was how he discussed with the um son of the rich dad, and blah 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 blah, like that. And you just see a lot of people that it's in the sharing of the ideas. I think it was Mark Zuckerberg that said that the ideas don't come out fully from, they unfold as we work on them. And working on them means discussing on them. Working on them means engaging that idea, right? Reaching out to people. I've learned like very recently that you can't do it all alone. You can't do it, no matter how sacred, how how you are thinking that don't let people steal my vision, don't let people steal my idea. Oh, I'm the one that's going to change the world. I've learned that you can't do it alone. You still need people to speak to. You still need people to see it from their own point of view, from their own world view. The world is bigger than you as a change maker, and that change you're trying um to make. Someone somewhere has thought about it, but might not have had the courage that you are having at the moment. And it's possible because the person did not speak out, did not engage people on it. The courage dwindled and it just died off. So you caught the idea now. Why not engage it? Why not bring it to light through every means, like through every means possible? And this will also require humility. Let me just say this to wrap up. It will also require humility, right? Humility, because it's only a leader that is humble that would want to discuss and also receive others' idea. Like, you cannot be proud and say you want to evolve. Well, I feel like it also requires humility. Yeah, so on that basis tonight, I'll just have Mr. Victor say a last word and we wrap up tonight's session officially. It's really been a lot. It's been um, a resourceful session. Yes, that would be the word. Thank you so much. Thank you everyone that has attended. Mr. Victor, please your last words to us for this session.
Okay, thank you so much again for having me. I really learned a lot from myself too because, hmm, I mean, okay, so but then when you before you even talked about the L1L5, I already knew it was lead one, lead five, and it's a beautiful thing because um, when people say that they want to lead five people, when the person says that they want to, I just hope I'm getting the concept very well. When the
Mm,
leader says he wants to lead one person, says he wants to lead, and I think that lead one is the leading himself, right? To lead five, is it?
yeah,
Right?
yeah,
Lead
yeah.
one, lead five. Yes. So once you lead one, that is you. Then you can then five is at least the minimum. So let's just say lead five. So one thing about leadership and being a change maker is that trying to replicate yourself in there's a way it might not be your total self, but you are replicating at least a part of yourself to these people or to these five people. You understand? That's why you hear people say, you hear people even behave like the people that the leaders that they are close to. There's always a replication, there's always a transfer of something. It can be the way they speak, the way they think. There's always something that is transferred. And so as a leader, you need to be mindful of how you are transferring what you are what you are transferring to these five people or to these people. You need to understand what you are saying. And because you see one thing about you see people, followers or normal people or let's say stakeholders can say anything. Once you have been established as the leader of something, others can say anything. Oh. But you as a leader, you have to be mindful of what you say
Mm,
because uh, those things can have implications. If the leader is discouraged, then how much more the followers? So leadership puts you not on a pedestal, but on a position to be very mindful of what you do, position
mm,
to be mindful of your expressions and how you communicate or act at certain things. It's not to make people not to spotlight you in a bad way, but I believe that it will not if a leader has truly gone through that metamorphosis and truly that change, those things would is a free flow from the inside. It won't be hard just come out. There are some things and that they will see that they say, okay, no, this just has to be. It's not you are trying to. It just comes out free flowing. Nobody will force the butterfly to flap its wings. It's something that is done fully. Thank you so much. That will be
mm.
all.
Thank you so much. All right. Thank you so much for your time, everyone. Thank you for spending this session with us. And I'm sure that it was a very um mind-blowing session, transformative session. All right, everyone. Do have a wonderful night rest. Have a wonderful evening as we ruminate on everything we have learned. All right, thank you so much. You'd also receive the recording of this session in your mails. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you, Mark. Good night. Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Good
everyone.
night.
Good
Thank you.
night.
Okay. Thank you. Good night, Anu. Good to see you.
Good night, sir.